Now, this table is fine, but it could be better. So I'm gonna teach you how to improve it. If you don't, in this case, I'm not gonna ask you to work very hard in the aesthetic improvement of your figures because I know it's already a lot. But this is for you guys. This is not for me. I really don't care about the aesthetic part, but I have forced you or encouraged you to improve the aesthetic part because this is something that you're going to present. For instance, if you're writing a report for an agency, or you are writing an academic paper, or you are writing a blog in your website in the future, you want to do it in a way that is appealing, that is powerful, that is beautiful, okay? So this is for you, not for me, okay? So if you want to improve it, if you want to create a more beautiful bar graph, there are plenty of things that you can change, and you need to explore that in the future. Important here is, I think it is important to write what do you have in the x-axis and what do you have in the y-axis. Because the reader is going to be lost if you don't write there that is approval President Trump or support for Medicare or whatever, okay? The only thing that I want to highlight here is this function called fill, and you can change manually the color of the bar, okay? You can use the technical names, such as this one, or you can use the names according to R. For instance, in this case, red, but R has special names for colors, okay? Explore these websites. If you have time or later in the future, maybe not right now, but in the future, explore a little bit and play around these things and improve your aesthetic presentation of information, okay? Also play around the themes. In this case, I like this one a lot, the theme APA, which is part of the package JTools, okay? So you need to call the package, install and call the package in order to be able to use this beautiful theme. I like it. Okay, so this is the most beautiful presentation of the bar graph. I like it a little bit more. Okay, let's go here. So you have this new version. So notice that it's more beautiful. Okay. Okay, that's all. That's all for related with the first kind of figure that I want to teach. Okay. Let's move to the multivariate version of nominal. Okay. I'm sorry, I skipped one step. So that's for the bar graph. So you need to learn how to create the line graph, which is the same information, but it's going to be represented with a line, basically. That's the only difference here. Okay, so you need to prepare the same steps if you want to go with the line graph instead of the bar graph, okay? The only difference here, so you use the same information, data frame, so on and so forth. The only difference here is that you have this function called group. Group is probably the most critical function in this line graph. It is the equivalent to fill in the bar graph. But in this case, you use group to say that the values that you're gonna represent will be group. For instance, in this case, it's just one group. But when you include your control variable, you're gonna use the categories of the control variable to group the information. Okay, this is gonna make sense a little bit later, but just be careful. If you have a bivariate figure, use group and write number 1, okay? Okay, this is the first version of your line graph. It's very ugly, and more than ugly, it has a problem. The problem is that you can see here in the y-axis, you have a different scale. You have a scale from 10,000 to 30,000. So what you are doing here is that you are distorting the scale of the graph. And the difference between the people who disapprove Trump and support Medicare seems larger in comparison with the group that approve Trump and support Medicare than it really is. Even if it is really high, it is larger here. Remember that we talked about this when we presented or when we discussed the potential limitations of the figure. So you need to be careful and correct that scale. That's the only thing that I'm going to be kind of picky with the line graphs, because if you present something like this, you're going to be highly criticized. So I want to prevent you to be criticized because you publish an article with this kind of information or whatever. So that's incorrect. You need to create a scale that goes from 0 to 30,000, okay? Okay. This is basically the same, but I play around a lot with the geom_line function and the geom_point function, okay? The only important and critical thing here is this function expand limits, and it's going to tell you start with the y-axis being 0, okay? That's the most critical thing here. This is just to show you different options that you have. You can manipulate the line type, the color of the line. Instead of points, you can have different figures such as triangles, squares, so on and so forth. You can change the size. And if you want to explore a little bit more about it, go to this website and you're going to find it. It's cool. If you want to play with these things, if you don't have time, it's fine. You can do it later. Okay? Let's do it here let's keep replicating these. And I have this one, and I'm gonna go very quick. So you have here your line graph. This is a better version of it, right? You have here the line graph. This is better because even if the difference is very notorious, it's not the total difference of the I don't know how to say. So in the other version of the graph, you have even a wider gap between the two groups, and it's not as wide as it was presented, okay? And you have here the whole scale, okay? Okay, so that's now we finish the bivariate type of figures with nominal, the easier, okay? I know that I gave a lot of information, but this was important because I want to walk you through all the different things just to have everything clear, okay? Now let's move on. This is the other very simple kind of figure that we can have. This is a multivariate with all our variables nominal. And imagine the same first example that I use. Imagine that again we want to see this relationship between partisanship and opinion on gun control, but now we are controlling by gender, okay? Because we say that maybe female, for any reason, are more likely to support stricter measures to control the use of guns, okay? So we create these two tables. If we have tables, what information do we want to represent? Yeah, it's this part of the information, okay? You don't want to focus on this, you don't want to focus on the total, you don't want to focus on this, you don't want to focus on this. You want to focus on this row. You just want to graph this row because it's the part of the information that is gonna test or is gonna provide evidence, confirmatory or disconfirmatory evidence related to your hypothesis, okay? Okay, so again, the same steps. Transform your variables. Now I'm going to create this variable called female, or that is based on gender. Okay. Now, how do you count this kind of information? You have 3 variables. So I want you to notice that your control variable is going to be the first term when you group by. Okay. So you're going to say divide or like create, divide the data set by the 2 genders, by male and female, and later also divide each kind of, between quotation marks, subset by those who approve Trump and those who disapprove Trump, and now count those who oppose or those who support universal Medicare. That's what you are saying with this structure, okay? This is what you find. you find a table like this. So remember, this is the same pattern, and you need to learn this pattern because it's what you're gonna actually write in your data frame, okay? Notice, you only have one value, there's only one value of your dependent variable that is relevant for you, is support. Support, 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 support. But there are two values that are relevant for you to related with your independent and control variables. So you want to see what happened with men who disapprove the presidency of Trump, and also how many of those men who disapprove the presidency of Trump support Maker. How many of those men who approve the presidency of Trump support Maker? How many of those women who disapprove, and so on and so forth, right? That's what you want to do. And you create a data frame. This is the generic version first. The main difference here is that you start by the control variable. And notice here, this is important, that in this case, the number of values that you write here, for instance, levels, don't match with the number of values that you write here in the factor part, okay? This is because the number of categories that you have for your independent variable are only 2, for instance, low and high, but you can write as many times those low and high as you want. And they don't need to be low, high, low, high. They could be low, 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 high, or they could be low, high, 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 right? But what is critical here is that you have the same number of values that will be graph. In this case, for instance, blue, low value, blue, high value. So you have 4 in your 3 variables, okay? Notice again, or notice too, that you don't need to write the levels of your control variable. You only write the levels of your independent variable. I don't know why this is part of the structure. The people who write these things in R, I don't know, they created this way. And just follow these kind of conventions. We don't need to know anything related with these conventions, but just follow them and you're gonna be fine, okay? So again, just to emphasize, what R is gonna do is gonna graph the following information. It's gonna graph 4 values. The first value is the information related with blue in the control variable, with low in the independent variable, and with the value that we're gonna give in the dependent variable. And later it's gonna graph blue, high, value 2, red, low, value 3, and red, high, value 4. Okay, that's what you're gonna have. Now let's go to the actual example. So you write this data frame, you write gender, you create this variable called gender, you can call it as you want, female, you can call it sex, whatever you want to call it. And you're gonna say that you're gonna have men, men, women, women. And approval is gonna be the same. Disapprove, approve, disapprove, approve, and the levels are disapprove, approve. And you're gonna write here in count the number of men who disapprove Trump and support Maker. Okay? Let's do this here. Let me go to our first let me go here. This is our first multivariate variable, a figure, I'm sorry. I'm gonna create this one. I'm gonna count here first. Then I'm gonna create this data frame. Okay? Okay. And later you create the bar graph. Okay? The only difference here is that you need to use this function called fill. Here you say fill the bar graphs with the values of your control variable, right? So there's gonna be one bar for male or men and one bar for women, okay? And maybe this is another difference. The position is position Dutch, but it doesn't matter. It's just technical. But what really important here is that you write your control variable in this fill function, okay? This is your bar. Let me do it here to show you that this is not, this is, you actually find here. Okay, let's see it. Related with your hypothesis, and just to help you a little bit with the analysis, because you need to analyze this, and the emphasis in this part of the class is going to be on your analytical capacity more than on your technical capacity. But you need to prepare this in a correct way. So, okay, what happened here? So the people who disapprove Trump tend to support more Medicare than people who approve Trump. Fine, you have evidence for that. And women tend to support more the universal provision of Medicare than men in both subgroups, those who disapprove and those who approve Trump. Okay, so you have support to your hypothesis. Great. Let's move on. Now you're gonna learn how to make aesthetic improvements. If you don't want to learn about it, just skip this part, and it's very simple. So it's not gonna take a lot of time. The new thing that I want to teach you is this scale fill manual is a function to say directly the colors that you want in your bar graph. Something that is important is that I don't know if it is necessary, but I think it's a good idea if you have, you write here numbers of colors as categories you have in your control variable. Okay, for instance, in this case, you have two categories in gender, men and women, right? So you write two different colors. If you had three categories in gender or in the control variable, you need to provide three different colors. Okay, probably you're not gonna have a problem with this, but maybe you can experience problems. So it's better that you match the number of colors that you provide with the number of categories of your control variable. Okay, this is a better version, between quotation marks, of your bar graph. Okay, and this is the simplest way to prepare bar graphs. Now let's go to line graphs. Okay, so you can see here that is basically the same that we learned in the past. The only difference here is group. Group is important because, as I said, with group you're gonna say create two lines, one line per each category of your control variable. In this case, gender. So there's gonna be a line for men and a line for women. Okay, so group is the equivalent to fill in bar graph, as I said in the past. That's the only difference. I think I'm a little bit lag in the replication of these codes. You have here a better version. That's cool. Now let's go with the line graph. And this is the line graph. Okay. I like it because there are two lines. And it's a good representation of the information, but the problem remains in this bare bones version of the line graph. So the scale is not correct. So it starts with 4,000 and ends in 16,000. And it needs to start in the y-axis with 0. Okay. So this is to prepare the aesthetic improvements. Okay, a couple of things that are important is that you're saying here in the first line that the shape of the lines and the color of the lines will be different for men and women. So for the categories of your control variable. Okay. Another thing is that I play around the geom line and I change again. I'm gonna say here that the line type is gonna change by the different categories of your control variable. And also here I created this scale fill discrete, which is the legend of your control variable. And something that is, I don't know, again, this is a convention and I don't know why, but it's important is that this part of your line needs to be after the theme if you're gonna change the theme. Okay. And this is a very, very nice version of your line graph. I really like this version and you can do it even better. Okay? Let's do it here. Let's replicate here. Look at here. Ah, so beautiful. I like it a lot. Okay. Okay, now you know the basics. If your hypothesis has nominal variables, or your like a research question has those three versions of the variables, nominal, stop here. You're done. That's great. If not, I have news for you. You need to keep watching this video, but try to go directly to the parts that are relevant for you. So if you're independent, okay, so just keep watching, and I'm gonna give you instructions when I upload this video where you are supposed to go to some extent to keep learning how to prepare these graphs if you don't have nominal. Okay?